Hello everybody and a warm welcome back to my channel. My name's Karen Saunders and I discuss all things Jehovah's Witnesses. But tonight I will have a special guest, and you'll probably also know her as Marcie, ex-Jehovah's Witness. She has her own YouTube channel, and I just wanted to catch up with Marcie to see how she's been going and to listen to a little bit of her waking up from the organisation and escape from the Tower story. So welcome, Marcie. It's lovely to see you. How are you going?
I'm going all right. Thank you for having me today.
My pleasure. Well, here it's 7:10 at night. So what time is it there?
It is 10 past 10 in the morning. I've just
Okay.
got my morning coffee.
Okay. Right. Well, you look very, very much comfortable and settled there. I've got my lemon water
Oh,
to
marvelous.
alkalize everything. So that's good. So I've been trying to pin you down for a while now. You've been jet setting here, there, and everywhere.
I have.
For those of you who know Marcie likes to travel, and she's been all over Europe and had some nice times with friends there. So it's nice to be able to speak to her at home, and a very nice home it looks too, I might add.
Thank you. It's a work in progress, as I call it.
Yeah, same here, same here. So Marcie, you and I have got quite a few things in common, both professionally and, if I can say, spiritually speaking, because we're both ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and came in at around the same time. So do you want to just tell us a little bit about how you were contacted and when you came in?
Yes, I was first contacted in 1987. I was working at a hotel in Sheffield where I live. And I started reading the Bible in the bedrooms where I was working. So that's how I got into the Bible. I'd never really read a Bible before, but one day I picked it up and started reading. And I've been reading it about a month when I sort of come to the conclusion that the last days that the Bible was talking about, we were living in them. So I was sort of reading daily, and I one day prayed about this and said, if there's somebody up there and this is right, I don't know anybody who believes what I'm reading. I was brought up with a church background, Church of England. My parents were churchgoers. I left the church at 15 years old. So, and I didn't really understand or believe what they taught. So at that point, so soon after this prayer, I was contacted the same week actually by two Jehovah's Witnesses when I was off work, and they showed me the Live Forever book. They asked me, and I said, "Do you think we're living in the last days?" And that's when they showed me the Live Forever book, and I sort of started to study on the doorstep there and then. So that's how I first got contact with the org, as I call it now.
Okay, very, very good. So how long did you actually have your Bible lessons for? Did you come in very quickly or did it take some time?
No, I started in 1987. I studied with a sister and her mom. I was living with my boyfriend in a flat at the time, you probably know, near the university at Sheffield. We lived in a tower block up there, and so I had my Bible studies every Tuesday. And that's how it started. And I got to a point in my studies when I sort of came to a bit of a crossroads situation because, as I said, I was living with this boyfriend and I couldn't really make any more progress because we're living together and not married and all this. So I can't. We came to a point where we decided to buy a house in another area in Sheffield, and so I moved away. And as a result, I sort of put the books away and and didn't have anything to do with the religion for a bit. But I was contacted about 5 months after I moved again by two completely different Jehovah's Witnesses, two men. And it was quite funny actually, because I thought I'd get rid of them by telling them that I was a witness already. And so I said, I'm already a Jehovah's Witness. And so they said, oh, well, what congregation have you come from? And I went, well, I don't come from a congregation. So they must have been scratching their head a bit. And it's quite funny when you look at it. So he said, so you're a Jehovah's Witness, but you haven't come from a congregation and you're inactive. And I went, well, I might be. He says, well, are you disfellowshipped? I went, possibly, I don't know. So they stood there a bit and then they said, would it be all right to send a young lady just to have a little chat with you? And so I said, yeah, you can send her. And so she came round and she was a regular pioneer. And she said, I don't know what's happened, but they seem to think that you're a witness, but you've never been to a meeting or anything. And I said, oh, yeah, I am a Jehovah's Witness. So she said, have you had Bible studies? And I said, yeah. So she established that I was a Bible student, but I thought I was a witness. But I actually liked her, so she asked me if I wanted to continue my study, and I decided to carry it on. So I carried on studying with her, and altogether I studied for about 5 years before I actually got baptized. I got baptized in 1992. So I'd had contact with the organisation since 1987. I never went to a meeting in that time, was never invited to one by
wow.
anybody. It just carried on studying the Live Forever book. And it wasn't until I had my son on the 18th of June 1990, which is 34 years ago today. He was born. He was born on the Monday. Came out of the hospital on the Thursday, and I went to the book study that night, and I took him with me. It was 4 days old. So
Wow.
that's why I got going to the meetings. I believe that I've got someone else to think about now, and I should think about his future. And that's what moved me to start going. So I started attending things. I started attending the book study. I attended that. Then I was invited to the Thursday night meeting, school and what have you. And finally, the Watchtower, I started attending probably about 6 months after I'd had him. I was attending all the meetings. And then it wasn't long before I became an unbaptized publisher after that.
Right. Yeah. So so I was contacted the same year, but I came in as a baptized witness within that year from 87 to 88.
Oh, did you?
I came in really, really quickly, yeah. But I was just thinking, 5 years now, they'd give up on you like after 6 months today,
Oh,
with
yeah.
that. They'd be like, oh no, she's, they just judge you and go, oh, she's not bothered, she hasn't got the right heart or whatever. But there's certainly not 5 years to study the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses now. They just won't tolerate it. But so that's a bit of a background on how you were contacted and coming in. So it was very similar to me in terms of I had a little baby as well, a baby boy, and I was thinking as a Catholic, because I was raised a Catholic, thinking, what kind of future is my son going to have, thinking of things like hellfire and all that. So those were like kind of denominating factors for me too. So what did your immediate family think? Because obviously you're the only one that becomes a Jehovah's Witness. So how did they respond?
My family was, they sort of said, well, it's up to you, but I think my mom was my foster mom was very against it. I first came into contact with Jehovah's Witnesses when I was about 10, when I found a tract in the street, and I remember reading this tract and running home and showing my mum and saying to her, it says here that we can live forever. Now, we was going to church every Sunday at that point, and she took it off me and had a quick scan of it and suddenly exclaimed, "It's them Jehovah's Witnesses. They're Americans, they've got different beliefs." And she ripped it up and threw it in the bin. But I always sort of, it stuck in my mind, this lovely picture and, the paradise and saying that you could live forever and there would be no more wars and things like that. That stuck in my mind. And obviously, I was living in Sheffield at that time, as I still am, and they used to have big conventions at the Sheffield Wednesday ground, which was en route for me to go into Sheffield with my mum. So when we used to go to Sheffield every Saturday to do a shopping, and when the convention was on, you'd see all these people going to Sheffield Wednesday, and all the people on the bus would be saying, "Oh, it's Jehovah's Witnesses." Da, 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 da. And I remember thinking, well, what can they be talking about for 3 days? I'm bored in church an hour. So they're sitting there for 3 days. So I've always been a bit intrigued by what they did. And then my brother, he lived in Brightside in Sheffield, and they'd got Jehovah's Witnesses who moved in next door. And one day I heard them complaining that they couldn't get their car parked because there was a church meeting at the house every Thursday or whatever it was. And I remember thinking, well, what can they be doing in somebody's house? And they're going having these big conventions. So I'd always had a bit of an intrigue about it, wondered about it. So, when they came to me with this message, I was convinced that that must be what was right. So, but my family, as you'd asked, they weren't really, they never really said anything, to be honest. My mum, she's just said, well, you've always been a bit unconventional, and that was it, really. They never sort of said anything against it.
Okay.
But then again, I never really tried to preach their heads off like some people do when they get into it. I never tried to do any of that. So I just spoke to them a bit about it. They weren't really bothered, and so that was it. Birthdays and Christmas and stuff, they sort of understood that I weren't going to be participating and didn't make a big fuss. The person who did make a big fuss about it was my husband's mother. She was very against the fact that I was bringing the children up as a Jehovah's Witness, very much against it. She
Right.
used to wait for an opportunity in public to bring it up, so that I was thinking I wouldn't say anything, like in the supermarket queue. She'd say, well, I don't think it's right. You're not celebrating Christmas, them kids, and, and all this in front of others.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
She would
Embarrassing.
do, yeah, she would do that.
Mm.
And obviously, my husband, I married the person I was living with. We got married. He was all right about it until he went to the pub one day and someone said to him, "Your lass has knocked on my door Bible bashing." And that set him off. Oh, he was he said, "How dare you embarrass me in the pub in front of everybody?" And it's going to stop right now, all this. But, when somebody says that to you, you dig your heels in, and I was convinced it was the truth. And I put up with all sorts of abuse from him. He became very against it and very abusive. And I just put up with it all because I believed it was Satan persecuting me.
Right.
And I was told that was what was going to happen. So now I've got it from him and his mother. It was very, very difficult. He burnt all my books. I came on one day, all the books were on a bonfire in the garden.
Wow.
And it was a time when he had to purchase everything, so I had to buy it all again.
Right.
He hot meals at me. It was a difficult time. But this started when I got baptized as a witness. He'd been very opposed and funny about it. He wouldn't come to the baptism, and I was very upset. But he did say to me on the day, I hope you have a lovely day. And, I'll watch the kids feel, I'll have them so you don't have to worry about it. I was just absolutely astonished. But when I got back in the house, when I got back home, he wouldn't let me in, he locked me out. He was swearing through the window and shouting. And the next door neighbour come out and dragged me in the house, and she said, I think you better come in here while he calms down. And he went off to the pub but yeah, he was very opposed. He became very opposed. When I
Right.
was baptized, because of the opposition that he gave, I got baptized at Don Valley Stadium. Well, the convention was at Don Valley in Sheffield, but we went to Hellerby for the baptism on a coach. And they asked if anybody got any stories about the road to baptism when I got baptized. And when they heard about it, they came and said, "Oh, can we use it on the as the last experience on the convention?" Which they did.
Oh, right.
Um, um, when they read it out, there were people sat crying, and I remember this sister sat crying, and the person who brought me in said to this woman, you know, why are you so upset? And she said, it's just so awful. And she pointed and she says, well, that's her. And
Oh,
she came
really? Yeah.
down there, gave me this big hug and all the rest of it. And yeah,
Oh,
it was a very difficult time, right up to from getting baptized in 1992 to when we actually split up in 1993. It was a year of hell with him about me
right.
being a witness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so I think you've given a pretty comprehensive um, first few years of your life as a witness, because I know you were also a regular pioneer. You regular pioneer, didn't you, on and off? And also, and here's the thing: like, probably many people don't know this, but you're not disfellowshipped, you're not disassociated, you haven't been removed, you're still classed as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So I think last time we were talking together and you brought that up, I was just amazed because me personally, I couldn't do a YouTube channel and still be currently one of Jehovah's Witnesses. So how does that work? I mean, do your friends know? I mean, how does that work? Tell everybody, please.
Well, as I said, yeah, I was a regular pioneer. A regular pioneer for 10 years after me and my husband split up. I viewed that as a cue to pioneer. So I started auxiliary pioneering and then I stepped up to regular pioneering after a few months, and that went on for 10 years. Um, so I was I woke up during the COVID-19 situation, as I call it now. I don't call it a pandemic because it wasn't, but I woke up to the Watchtower during that time when we weren't actually going to the meetings and we're on the Zoom. And I just, it was the vaccine agenda that woke me up. I woke up like a light going on, and I knew that it wasn't God's organisation, and I stopped attending. And so I had found out certain things, and I discussed it with one of my friends who was a Jehovah's Witness. And to be fair to her, she never sort of really, she didn't go to the elders or any of that. She listened to what I said. It didn't wake her up, but she did listen. And she was going through a bit of a rough patch anyway, because she herself had met a man online and they'd become, she met him in a Jehovah's Witness forum, and they'd started going dating, online dating, and what have you. And then later on, he told her he was disfellowshipped. And so this caused a big hoo-ha and brought the elders round to her. And so she was going through her own issues with all this lot. And so going back to me setting up a channel, she the elders came, she did mention something in conversation, and the elders got in touch with me and said, can we come and speak to you? This rumour's going round that, we'd like to come and discuss with you this, that, the other. And I said, well, my brother has died, my sister-in-law has committed suicide. And I said, you've not wanted to come and speak to me or visit me. I said, but you've heard some rumour and gossip that I've supposedly said, and you wanted to come round. And I went, well, I said, you're not coming. I
Oh,
went,
good on you.
I said, if
Mm.
you've got evidence that I've said something, then bring it to the table. I said, if you haven't, then I suggest you leave me alone. And so I got a message from the elder saying, so sorry, we know you've been going through a rough time with your family and losing people. If there's anything we can do to help you, let us know. And that was the last thing I've heard from him or any witness elder. They've just left me
Wow.
completely alone. And so starting the YouTube channel, it wasn't really something that I thought about doing. I made a comment on another YouTuber's channel. He was asking about were Jehovah's Witnesses leaving the organisation in the United Kingdom. And I replied to this message, and he then made a video about my reply. So I was astonished at this. I thought, well, he's made a video about something that I've said. And so as a result of that, I thought to myself, maybe I could make a video myself and explain it. But I don't know how to do it, and I've not got a YouTube channel set up. But then when I looked at my account, I had got a YouTube channel, and I'd had one for 10 years, but I just never made a video. So I decided to see if I could upload a video. I made a video and I uploaded it, and it went on YouTube. And I thought to myself, nobody will watch that. And I told my fiance Paul that I'd made this video and loaded it. And he said, do you think that's a wise thing to do? This is because I think it'll bring the elders round, and you've got enough on at the moment with all what's going on. And I said, well, I've done it now. I can't do anything about it. It's up. And I went, nobody will watch it anyway. Well, I think about 3,000 people watched that video.
Yeah.
So, so I decided then to make another one, and it's gone on from then. So that's how it started. I never intended to do it. It's as if something made me do it. I don't know.
Yeah. And look, I mean, and for those who want to, go and visit Marcie on her channel, I'll put her link in the description so you can go and look at Marcie's videos yourself and support her channel too, because she's got some really good content on there. And I've noticed as well that current Jehovah's Witnesses watch your channel, as they do indeed watch my channel and message me privately. So that they're in what's the word, disobedient to their own organization, because obviously when you think about it, I mean, we're you and I mean, I was a regular pioneer too, and you think you're reaching people, but my first video reached 15,000 viewers. You've got 3,000 viewers. These people, we're getting hit, we're actually helping more people en masse through the medium of YouTube than we could ever do as Jehovah's Witnesses in our whole lifetime of actually being in the organization. And so with that being said, I wanted to ask you, is there a reason why you have decided to still be affiliated with it? Can I ask you that question?
Yes. I, after waking up and starting the channel and everything, I thought about disassociate, about in a disassociation matter. I looked at several different YouTube videos about whether you should disassociate or not. And I came to the conclusion, because I've got some friends who are still in it, and I knew that if I disassociated myself, I would not be able to have any contact. Well, they wouldn't be able to have any contact with me. It wouldn't be the other way around. But so that was one of the main reasons I decided not to disassociate myself. It doesn't worry me if they find out. I mean, I'm amazed that they've not found the channel and showed it an elder and they wanted to come round and all that. I just prayed about it and I said, because obviously I've become a born again Christian, and I made it a matter of prayer as to what to do about this situation. And I said to the Lord, I said, I want you to bring the right people to the channel and keep the wrong ones away. And that's exactly how it's been since I set it up. And so I still keep contact with certain Jehovah's Witnesses. It's been quite interesting, to be honest, because the person who brought me in was a regular pioneer, and she's pioneered now for touching 40 years. She's been a regular pioneer. And she's been around a couple of times for meals at my house. I've invited her around, she's come round. She knows I don't go, and she said to me, well, why have you stopped coming? But before I could answer her, she went, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to know.
Right.
And she when she's been around twice, she's kept well away from the subject of the meetings, the watchtower and things like that, because she doesn't want to be drawn into that. She doesn't want to be the person who I might have to go to the elders or whatever. And so it's a bit.
But Marcie, sorry, excuse me if I can interject there. Just listening to you, obviously, I mean, it's a different ball game for me. I mean, there are consequences for actually remaining within the organisation, I would imagine. I mean, you correct me if there aren't, but from my I mean, the way that I see it is that, from my perspective, is that I'm quite, binary in my thinking. It's black or white, clean or dirty, rich or poor, whatever. So for me, I wouldn't have felt the freedom that you've still got as a sort of affiliated Jehovah's Witness to come and do a YouTube channel. Whereas I think the difference now is, because I'm completely, if I can put it this way, he did the scripture of Revelation 18:4, get out of her, my people. For me personally, I've done that. And so I'm now unfettered. I can actually come on my own YouTube channel and discuss really whatever I want. I know you do, but the point I'm making is that if any of my friends or Jehovah's Witnesses are watching, or people that know me, then they're either going to listen to what I have to say or, turn it off, but they won't take it any further because of my status. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. The way that I see it is that many people that are like that, your friend who's a regular pioneer, they don't want to know. They don't want to know, because if you start trying to explain, like I did with my pioneer friend who lives across the road from me still, but doesn't come to see me anymore, I tried to start saying to her little bits, and she picked up on it immediately and said, look, if you're going to start talking like that, we're going to have to part company. Right. So none of my friends were ready or willing to listen to what I had actually discovered. They are completely closed off. And like I said, I've said in the past to others, 2 years ago, that would have been me having the same attitude. I think
Yeah.
I think it takes a certain kind of person, um, you know, to. I mean, my critical thinking was in a coma for 35 years, seriously, because you're that brainwashed and you're that indoctrinated that you can't see the wood for the trees.
I
So
know.
for something to cut through that has to be, it has to be super, Holy Spirit or something that's so strong to make you
Absolutely.
sit up. Do you know what I mean? And I just believe as well, Marcie, that the ones that will come out because Jesus will
Yeah.
see something and he'll draw
Bring
them out.
them
But
out.
the ones that stay in, as far as I'm concerned, it sounds really harsh, but they deserve to stay in because they're worshipping men. And
Yeah.
I'm also a born again Christian. So at the end of the day, I mean, the only thing that I do miss my friends, but you haven't, you're not in a disfellowship state. So you've still got that luxury, but you would have to be very, very careful with what you say, Marcie, surely.
Absolutely. And it's like you say, there are consequences to leaving as disassociating yourself, and there's the consequences of fading. And you've got sort of contact with people, but you haven't got the freedom of speech to say what you want to say, and that is the price that is paid by it. However, one of my friends, I meet her every Thursday, and she's sort of becoming disgruntled with various things. It's coming up their convention, and she said, nobody has, given me any leaflet, she said, or anything. She said, I feel as if I've just been abandoned. And, she's starting to become a bit disgruntled about it, and she's expressing these things to me, which is probably a good thing because I keep dropping little seeds on her plate.
Right, that's good.
Um, so that's a good thing that I've still been able to get contact. But when I say I see my friends, I see her. I see Laura's the other one who she doesn't know I don't go to the meeting. She thinks I still go. 2 years on, because she goes to a different kingdom or in a different area. She just assumes that I'm going. And so it's quite funny.
No.
Because she was brought up in it as a witness. She's had some real rough times. I'm going to make a video about what she went through. I'll have to change her name, I think, bless her. But she went through a really, really, really rough time. And as a result, she goes to the meeting. She's always gone all her life from being a child. Her dad's an elder, and what have you. But she's married to someone who's not a witness. And although he's not opposed, he won't move and he won't budge on it. She's trying to get him to come in and this, that, and the other, and he just won't. I don't know what he sees, but he won't.
Mm.
But she, we can meet up and not even talk about the witness religion at all, because she's the one who decorates. She did my living room, decorates all the my kitchen. She did my kitchen and this living room, and she's got her own business going. So she seems to be more focused on her own business than she goes to meetings, but talks about decorating
Well,
and
yeah,
work all the time.
yeah.
So it's not like it's it's a funny situation to be in.
Mm.
I've not got the pain of losing my family because none of my family was in it as a witness, and I've not had the pain of losing friends like you have. It must be very difficult. I've just lost one who's I did speak to. I met her at the baptism pool, Helen. We were friends for well over 30 years. And she, like me, was understood that the COVID and the way they pushed the um, vaccine onto the congregations, and she didn't agree with any of that. She was shunned because she hadn't had a vaccine.
Oh, well,
She was,
that's right. You do. Yeah. You
she,
were made to feel like you had to take it, weren't you? Really?
yeah, she didn't have it, and neither did her husband, who wasn't a witness. And she was told she wouldn't be invited to any sisters' houses or get-togethers because she wasn't vaccinated, and this upset her a great deal. And when I sort of showed her about the New World Order and the agenda of it all, and I said, I think you should see this as well. I sent her some information based on watchtowers, what had been published before. And when she saw this, she cut me off. And she
Right.
took me off social media. But
Mm.
interestingly, like we were talked about, she's not took me off WhatsApp. She took me off Facebook
Mm.
and everything. But
Interesting.
she's done the same as your friend, who's
Yeah.
kept me on
Why do you think?
WhatsApp.
Why do you think? Why do you think that is, Marcie? Why do you think they've decided to keep us on WhatsApp? Because I even messaged my friend not that long ago, and I said I don't expect a response from you, and I never got a response. I was completely shunned. But even though I said what I said in the message, like, why should I lose a friendship because I follow Christ? That was one of my questions, and that's my only crime. Yeah. Why has she? Sorry,
Has
why
she
has
kept,
she? Yeah,
she kept me
why?
on WhatsApp? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know what it is. I think it's the open door policy, as I call it, because if they take it off, they can't get in contact with you.
Mm.
They've still got an opening for if they need something in future or whatever. I call it the open door
Yeah,
because
yeah.
obviously if you delete everything, you can't get in touch with that person. You
I
can
did
probably do
say,
it successfully.
yeah, I did say to her, Christ never shunned anybody, and if you ever find yourself in a situation where you need me or you need to come to me, I'll never turn you away because I love you, and that's what Jesus would do. And I just said to her, Tia, we could have like either one of us could have 6 months to live, and what has not speaking for 6 months achieved, really, in the scheme of things? What would Christ do if his friend was in that situation? He actually resurrected Lazarus, for goodness sake. And so hopefully I've given her something to think about. But I'm not her sister. I've got some really good news to share with you. Her younger sister, contacted me the other day because they're trying to get her to become a witness, but she's always resisted it. Anyway, she said to me, I got baptized into Christ last weekend, and they know about it. They're really, really not happy about it at all because she's got a little girl now, and she said that they're not happy. But things could be worse. She could have been baptized and disfellowshipped, like me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So
Thank
they need
goodness
to
she's
count. They need to count the blessings. But I just said to her, "You're in a position now where you can actually witness for Jesus to your sisters, because I'm telling you." She knows. She said, "People they need to turn to him, Karen." And I said, "They do." I said, "But you can't make them. It's like you can, take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink." I said, "Jesus said nobody could come to the Father unless they come through me, unless I draw them." So, you could be the most eloquent speaker on the face of this planet. Jesus was the greatest teacher of all, but people left off following him. So what chance have we got? I just think
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you just this question. What was the main thing? What was the main? What did you discover within the Jehovah's Witness organization that really? I know you've touched on COVID. That really started making you think this is not the true. This is not the true way. This is not the true religion, or whatever, however you want to word it. What was the kind of litmus paper test, that made you think, hang on a minute, something's not right here?
it, and I touched on the COVID. It wasn't as the COVID as such, it was the vaccine agenda. I found out about the vaccine agenda in, I think it was 2000 and maybe 10, 11. And I knew that they were going to try and bring in a vaccination program under a pandemic. I knew this. I'd researched it. And so I knew, and when I found out about it, there used to be a lot of YouTube videos about it, a lot of
Mm,
whistleblowers that were on YouTube. And I kept thinking they'll never do it. It sounds too far-fetched, and all this. And when I saw it start to play out with the event 201, which was just before the COVID, when they had a practice run of it in New York, and they called it Event 201. And I knew that this was it. And I knew
mm,
that they tried to do it under the swine flu in the United Kingdom. They tried to bring it in under the swine flu, and it didn't work, but they went away to the drawing board and twiddled it and brought it back under COVID-19.
mm.
So I knew about this. And when I saw it starting to play out, I thought that the Jehovah's Organization would say to Jehovah's Witnesses not to take this vaccine. I was convinced they would say not to take it. And instead of seeing them say not to take it, they started to push it. And they kept saying the governing body, they kept putting videos out, the governing body, 50% of the Bethel family now have had the vaccine. Oh, it's 60%, and it went up to 90%. And so they never said to Jehovah's Witnesses to take the vaccine, but what they did was by them doing it, and it gave the green flag to everybody to take it. That was the signal. We've
Right,
all had it. Jehovah wouldn't want you to put you in danger of, you know, if it was a dangerous thing, he wouldn't put that your way. We've all taken it. And I knew this worked because one of my friends was adamant she wasn't having it. And then
mm,
she suddenly said, I'm getting the vaccines. And I said, but why have you changed your mind? She went, well, the governing body have had it and they wouldn't have had it if it weren't under Jehovah's direction. And she went up and got it. And so, and I knew this was wrong. And following a channel which is called the Awakening Channel, it tells you on there the fact that the doctors have had to use ivermectin and other things to control COVID,
right.
and how they were stopped from using it. And I knew this because I worked in the hospital anyway.
Mm,
So, there were things I just knew. And it woke me up like someone throwing a bucket of ice water on me. And I thought, what is wrong with this organisation when they are pushing something, the UN agenda? And then I found out about the United Nations link to the
right.
watchtower. So those two things were linked, and it sort of woke me up. I looked into the UN thing. I'd heard it. I think it was your Markle told me about it first,
Mm, mm,
and I didn't sort of pay attention to it at first. But then when with the COVID and the other things, I just put the two together. I sort of looked into it to see if they had actually joined the UN. And when I found out that they had, and I went on the UN website and found the message that they'd had the answer, because they'd had so many inquiries from Jehovah's Witnesses about this that they've got a thing on their own website to
yeah.
explain, because Jehovah's Witnesses had said the organisation had sort of said, oh, well, we did it to join the UN library, and that's the reason why we joined. And the UN said, no, no, you don't need to join the UN as an NGO to get a library card. You can get one without. And so I knew that they'd been part of it.
Yeah.
I've made a video about it now, but that's what woke me up. And
Yeah.
that's what, obviously set me on the course to researching
Mm.
all the false prophecies then came
Yeah.
out.
Mm.
And then I find out about this Silkburg
Yes.
demo, a demonic convention centre.
Yeah.
I found that all these things, and Charles Taze Russell with the pyramid on his grave, and this that, and the other. I prayed about it, and I kept saying, because I knew something was wrong, and I kept praying to the Lord, and I kept saying, I don't care what the truth is, I want to know what it is.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. And as Paul said, the scales fell from his eyes, the scales fell from my eyes, and I saw everything, and
Yeah.
everything there, and that's how I
But you,
came to
yeah.
wake.
Well, look, I mean, I think very similar experience to mine. But the thing about it is this, Marcie, that you cannot unsee once you've seen everything. I mean, I even tried to drop that to my friend who has shunned me, who I've left a message with. I said, oh, somebody was saying that they were with the United Nations for 10 years, and that's the bride of Christ going to Satan for help. And her response, she asked me from the dates. I said, I think it was 1992 to 2001. And then she said, well, but they're not part of it now. That's like somebody saying, I had an affair with a woman for 10 years, but I'm not seeing her now because you found out. Do you know what I
I've
mean?
never had an affair with
What kind
it's
of, what kind of reasoning is that? It's and
and
I mean, for me, I don't know about you, but I that was one of the things apart from the Australian Royal Commission, but I just felt, I think the sense of betrayal and the hurt,
it's it's
it it
awful.
it, it is terrible. And I think that's why a lot of witnesses, they'll hear these things. Like, we tried to show our friends the subliminal messages on the back of the songbook, the two
Oh
songbooks.
yeah.
And she's putting her glasses on, and she's like, so she says, so what am I looking for, Karen? And I just looked at my husband Paul, and we just looked at each other, and I'm like, oh, come on, Wendy, come on. And her husband, when he looked at it, he straight away, he's like, oh, and she's like, oh, what am I looking for? But you see, for them to admit that we're right, then they'd have to
Yeah,
start questioning it, you see. So
absolutely.
ignorance is bliss, isn't it, really, when you think about it? But
I said this, Karen, in the age of information that we
there's no
are in now,
excuse. No
ignorance
excuse.
is a choice. Ignorance is a choice. People choose to remain ignorant, and they do
Mm,
choose to remain ignorant. And like you said, there's so many things. You just mentioned the Australian Royal Commission. Uh, I think that was the last sort of thing that sort of come to me about the child abuse cases. But Jeffrey Jackson, and I've made a video about this, about him, what lying on the stand, putting his hand on the Bible and saying that they're not the only organisation God uses. It would be presumptuous to say it, but they don't say that in the kingdom. I was just flabbergasted. But knowing what I know now about that, they're all Freemasons, and they all use the theocratic war strategy of telling truth to who they feel is entitled to know it, and the rest they'll lie to. And, I could see what he said was he was telling the truth to the commission, lying to the witnesses. But that's another thing, I couldn't believe that watching watching Jeffrey Jackson and the other elders at the commission. Jesus said, what when you held before courts and things like that, you'll be given what to say. And they just were, it was like watching dummies. I just couldn't believe it. And I thought, that it was just another nail in the coffin with it all, watching
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
because you could see that they were lying, they were caught lying on camera, and then I found out about other people, other things like Candice Conti being paid out all that money, and then they tried to take it off her and appealed against it. They got their
Mm,
Watchtower lawyers to, although they admitted that she'd been abused, they did what they could to recoup the money
mm.
from her, and I think she was paid 21 million, and then they got it down, whittled down to 7 million, and I thought, what a disgrace to go to court and try and take money off that girl.
Yes,
It was just
exactly.
horrible, and it's happened over and over.
Mm.
And so there's so many things that you just can't. There's no
You,
way
you
I
can't
could.
you can't fathom it, but then it just hits you in the face. These so-called men are supposed to be, Christ anointed brothers on earth, and then they're behaving like that. And when you think about the recent things that have taken place now, they've just lost in Lithuania, and then that Philip Brumley, he's just lost his appeal from being accused of perjury. So his $150,000 fine against him stays, because the courts are just not having a bar of his lying. I mean, basically, as far as I'm concerned, he should be barred from the bar. You know,
Yeah,
he's not fit for purpose. And so all of these things. And when you think about it as well, Marcie, that scripture where Jesus said, don't worry if you're brought before the courts. Don't worry about what you have to say. I'll give you what you need to say within the hour. Now, wouldn't you
yeah.
think? Wouldn't you think in that scenario, if these men who purport to be Christ brothers, don't you think that the likes of Jeffrey Jackson would have been stood there with self-assuredness and authority,
Yeah.
speaking through the Holy Spirit, and that he was sat there like a bumbling buffoon, not knowing what to do, going red in the face, and then his representatives, the elders, Rodney Spinks and
But the
Terence
same.
O'Brien, they
Yeah,
they
they
were
were the same.
they were like little, cockroaches wanting to run away under the furniture. It was like they were just dancing
Uh,
around all of these very simple questions that were being asked. They couldn't answer them
they,
an honest, forthright manner.
no, they couldn't. The thing is, when I watched it, and I remember thinking, they oh, it's like they were just playing games with the lawyers because you couldn't get a straight answer out of them. It was all, they would turn it round and he would just say a simple yes or no. But there would be no simple yes or no. They would come out with a load of stuff and they still answered the question.
Right.
And I was watching it, it just made me cringe. And I could see that they were using the theocratic word. They look like bumbling buffoons, but actually they were being very clever in how they were dealing with it because although it was exposed to the world, the Jehovah's Witnesses would never watch it because it was a worldly court. So the witnesses weren't aware of what was going on in the Australian Royal Commission.
Mm,
It's like Rebecca Vardy's video that she made about Jehovah's Witnesses and came
mm,
out. The witnesses had not watched it. And I went out with some friends the other night that weren't witnesses. But my friend Andrea, their best friend's a witness. And but she's not a witness. And they've been
right.
friends for years and years and years. And she got on about this Rebecca Vardy. And she
Mm.
says, have you ever seen it? And I said, oh, I watched it after I left. I said, but I wouldn't have watched it while I was a witness because you're told not to
Not to watch.
um,
Mm.
not to watch things that are worldly, the people who are trying to bring the organisation down and all the rest of it.
I
And
think they're
actually,
doing it. I think they're doing a good job of that on their own. They don't need anybody to bring them down, do they?
well,
But you know,
nobody's brought more reproach on Jehovah's name than what they've done
the
themselves.
watchtower, exactly.
The
Yeah,
Watchtower has brought, so much reproach and turning people away from God.
yeah,
Um, they the video that I made about this, that people never return and their faith is left in tatters.
Is.
You know, and even for me, when I first came out, I didn't know what I believed anymore. I didn't know, but you know, I still struggle with certain things because of the indoctrination. It takes a long time for it to go away.
Mm.
You know, it's even for saying things like when I was in the truth, that's, you know, that rolls off your tongue because that's what you said. You know, and it's, I've now I call it when I was in the organisation. But he still refers to it as the truth, even though he doesn't believe it's the truth. And that's
No.
the indoctrination of it all. And it
Yeah,
takes some time for it all to go away.
it
It can take
does.
years. Some people will never recover from the spiritual abuse that they've suffered at the hands of the Watchtower.
Mm.
And you know, I mentioned my friend who went out with the guy who was disfellowshipped, and she ended up getting disfellowshipped as a result of her association with him. And I'm going to make a video about her experience because it is very harrowing. And I've just found a video, sorry, a text message she sent to me that she had written and sent to the elders in her congregation, one of the elders, about what was happening to her and how upset. It's very upsetting to read that message. She's now being reinstated, but the pain that she was going through and what she said to them men and their reply, which I've got on my phone,
Right.
it's horrendous.
Shocking.
And it's very shocking. And this has been
Mm.
repeated over and over and over.
Oh,
And I'm fortunate, as I said, because they've left me alone. And actually, they took me off the field service group. They had a field service group on WhatsApp. And the elder that tried to meet with me removed me from that, removed me from all the things. So they've took me off. And as far as I'm concerned, they've showed to me that I'm not part of it by doing that.
yeah,
And I don't consider myself a Jehovah's Witness. I'm not a Jehovah's Witness. I am an
yeah,
ex-Jehovah's Witness. Um, but I am. See, when I was brought up in the church, Karen, and when I became a witness, I didn't write a letter to the church and say I was resigning. I just didn't go.
right,
And by non-association, I wasn't in the church anymore. I've never gone since. I
right.
never had anything to do with it since. And I've done the same with the Watchtower. If they then turn around and say to me, we've seen that you've got a YouTube channel and we want to meet with you, I'll refuse to meet with them now with this fellowship. Won't bother me a bit because I'm not bothered. And the
No,
only reason I'm bothered about it is that the people who I see wouldn't probably not see me, but then I think that maybe they would. I don't know. I don't know.
well, I think with the you know, the wrapping up of uh, you know, all the doctrines that they've had over the years, and now, you know, relaxing them and, you know, becoming more. I enjoyed watching your video on the fact that they're becoming more and more mainstream, which is nothing to do with new light, but rather it's a case of surviving. Yeah, they have to
Yeah.
survive. It's all about now the branding of how Jehovah's Witnesses look and the financial status. It's nothing to do with new light coming from
Oh no,
God,
no.
coming from
No.
Jesus, coming from the Bible. It's all, but you see, this is Jehovah's Witnesses that are still in would, oh, you know, aren't they amazing? Isn't Jehovah loving? He's doing this, he's doing that. He's, when they said, when Mark Sanderson said, you don't have to report time anymore, you know, or was it somebody, one of the others? I can't remember now. Anyway, one of the members of the governing body, you don't have to report time anymore. And isn't Jehovah, you know, isn't he a God of
Oh, it's marvelous. And
well, you know, if that's the case,
why didn't they do it before now?
Exactly.
You know, when I say I had to wait
Ex-
all these years, you
yeah,
know, when I was pioneering, and when I came in, the hours of a regular pioneer were 90 hours a month.
yeah,
She was doing 90 hours a month,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and obviously, I think it's at about 60 hours now for a regular. I don't know
If
what it
it's
is.
50 now.
50 for a
Yeah.
regular.
When I was pioneering the first time around, it was 70, and then they
Yes, it was
reduced.
70.
Yeah,
Yeah,
then they reduced
yeah,
it last year actually to 50. But
to 50.
it,
But what's strange, I think, Karen, as well, that, you know, they've got rid of the hour requirement for everybody, but regular pioneers still have to count the time. I mean, what the hell? What that is enough to. If I was a regular pioneer and that was announced, well, you still have to report your time
yeah,
and all the rest of it, but
I'd step
nobody else
down.
has.
Yeah, I'd
That'd
step
be a
down.
red flag in itself to me. I'd be
Exactly.
thinking, what's happening? Why have we got to report it?
Mm.
But
But
but they don't have to report it, and that's all right.
all they've
But
all
this,
they've done all they've done is just promoted the great divide again, them and us. Oh, you're just a common publisher, where the elite pioneers, and it's that kind of silent language, that's always been there anyway. There's always been, I believe, that the Watchtower, because basically they're satanic. They thrive on chaos. They thrive on chaos in the organization. They want chaos. They want people to be at loggerheads with one another, and they still try and masquerade as the true religion. But everybody is starting to wake up to this organization, and yeah. And I mean, look, I just want to, before we wrap this conversation up, it's been amazing speaking with you and listening to your experiences. But um, if I said to you, the reason why you left the Watchtower was, what would be your reason, Marcie?
it was. I found out it was not God's organization. It
Right,
never has been God's organization, and by what I found out, it became crystal clear that this organization wasn't backed by God in any way, shape, or form.
right,
And that's obviously, as I said, it was the vaccine thing that woke me up to start with, then the United Nations and all the false prophecies, and then the links with the occult, the demonic images in the Live Forever book, and I've made this video about those things. You know, that face is so clear on in there, and
yeah,
the horrible things that they put around Jesus. Um, I made a comment on somebody else's YouTube channel the other, yes, was it yesterday or the day before? He was talking about the in the back of the Silver Bible, there's nothing whatsoever about Jesus. There's, you know, it goes from Jehovah, discusses different people, but Jesus's name's not there at all. And yet in the Black Bible, that was the one before the silver one,
mm,
it is Jesus is in there. There's not a lot on him, but there is some. But in
yeah,
the silver, it's gone. And you know, there's these things like when they in the Black Bible they refer to Jesus his birth as an it when it was born, and she had it, and things like that. And I remember
oh,
thinking, that's just awful. And obviously, somebody pointed it out because it's changed in the Silver Bible to him when he
right,
was born, when it was born. And these are the things that's what I said, they're little digs, and it's part of the Antichrist.
yeah,
They are Antichrist, always been Antichrist. And, you know, they are now trying to hide this with, you know, this convention about Jesus's birth and focusing Jesus. And you know, I was astonished when I saw this tract from my sister-in-law, and it didn't once mention God or Jehovah at all in it. It's all to do with Jesus. And you know, I brought
mm,
out about the Christmas song, and Paul went off and I didn't realise that he hadn't listened to this new song, and he went off and did Googled it or whatever on YouTube, and he said, his words were, "I'm flabbergasted."
Mm.
Because it is nothing more than a Christmas carol. It
Yeah.
is a Christmas carol, when the guy put it in ChatGPT and it said, these are the words of a Christmas carol, or something, you just know. And these are the things that they are doing.
Yeah.
They are messing around all the time. And the fact that they are going to be telling the Christmas story, well, they're telling it to Jehovah's Witnesses because they don't know what it is. Because
No.
they've always said, oh, you don't need to know about Jesus. He's not a baby anymore. And so, people who are Christian know the nativity. I can ask my 5-year-old granddaughter, tell me about the nativity. She'll tell me about, the shepherds in the fields and what the angels said and all that. She knows that at 6. But
Oh,
Jehovah's
good.
Witnesses have been kept well away from it, but now they're wanting to bring it to the fore.
Yeah.
I think I wouldn't be surprised if they don't say that you can celebrate a sort of Christmas celebration. I
Look,
wouldn't be surprised.
I think we're seeing. Well, I think I'm probably preempting here, but we're probably going to see a lot more dumbing down of their doctrines at the AGM this coming October. Don't be surprised if they start relaxing on many things now. And it's just the writings on the wall for this organisation. They have to rebrand or die, basically, and that's it. So. But Marcie, it's been absolutely amazing speaking with you, my friend. What a lovely
Thank you.
interview. It's been lovely to have you on the channel. I hope one day I can return the compliment. And
Yes, love to
yeah, and
interview you.
just for everybody watching, yes, I'll put Marcie's channel in the description, but please visit her. Is it Marcie Baby? What Marcie Baby?
It's I think it's Marcie Baby or Marcie XJW. I think
All right, Marcie.
it
Right, okay.
sometimes comes up at.
Okay, well, I'll
I'll
make sure I put the correct
put the proper link on.
proper link in.
I think it is Marcie Baby,
I
the
think it
name of
is.
the
It is. It
yeah.
is. But thank you so much, my friend, and hope to
Oh,
have you
thank
back
you so much.
on the channel sometime. And yeah, it would be lovely because we do need to get these stories out there and help others to escape from the tower.
From the
So
tower.
thank you. Thanks a lot, Marcie. All right, take
All
care
right,
now.
thank you. And take care. Thank you.